Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Andrea Pearson Show. My name is Andrea, and today I've got a guest on, my very first guest. His name is Glenn Pearson. He's actually my brother. Kind of excited about that. I've decided to start interviewing people because I was getting bored talking to myself. And I realized that that's why I've paused my podcast in the past is because I just get bored talking to just me. So it's nice to be able to have somebody to bounce thoughts off of. But anyway, so I figured my brother would be a good guest to have on first because he's my brother and, a good way to break the ice. Anyway, so Glenn Pearson is a photographer, a licensed realtor, and a loan officer, and a professional home inspector with a background in construction and computer hardware and software support. He enjoys blending technical expertise with creative problem solving, whether that's behind the camera, in real estate, or during detailed inspections. Outside of work, he loves cars, computers, hunting, and spending time outdoors with his family. He's been married to his beautiful wife for 18 years. I love that his beautiful wife. He made me say his beautiful wife. 18 years and together they're raising five amazing kids and she is beautiful. Her name, you don't care if people know her name, do you?
No.
Okay, her name is also Andrea, and she was my first roommate when I went to BYU. And we're like, "Hey, Andrea!" And everybody, as soon as they met her in the family, they're like, "You have to introduce her to Glenn. You have to introduce her to Glenn." And he was the last one in the family who got introduced to her. So it's awesome that they hit it off. And then a few years later, actually set me up with my husband. So what goes around comes around. Anyway, welcome, Glenn.
That's good to be here. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm hoping by having guests on, I'll be able to help my viewers not just only just learn from them, but also to help the guests and their businesses, just because I like to give back to the community. So we're going to be talking about things that I hope will add value to my viewers' lives, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs, which is pretty much everybody who listens. Glenn, I want you to talk to us about the path that you've taken from quitting corporate and going through photography, real estate, loan inspector, loan officer, sorry, and inspections, all of that, because you're really centered on that real estate market, but you've done quite a few things inside the real estate market.
Yeah, so I had a background in computers for a long time. That was my day job. When I was 12, our dad handed me his old computer and said if I put it together, it'd be mine. It was all in pieces. So I put it together when I was it was actually I was 11. So I put it together, got into computers, got my first job when I was 12 at a computer store in Orem testing hardware. And that continued for a while, and I kind of deviated from that. But then I served a mission for my church for 2 years, and after that, I got into sales and started doing sales. I sold cars, and decided to get back into computers because I was tired of the crazy life of sales.
Right.
And when I was selling cars, I saw or I met someone that was also interested in doing real estate, so we decided to get our licenses together. And that's when I worked hard, got my real estate license, but that was 2009, which wasn't a great time to get into real estate. It was really slow. So I did it on the side for a while. I also started my photography business at the same time. I bought a nice camera to take pictures of my listings, and people started asking me to do pictures for them. And so it just kind of worked out that way. Those two worked hand in hand. I had realtors ask me to do photos of their listings, and then I started doing photos of weddings and got really busy doing photography for a few years. In 2011, I did over 50 weddings and didn't make hardly anything because I did a Groupon.
Oh man.
And so I would not take away that experience I got, but I will not do it again. Yeah, I would have done it completely different if I was going to do it again. But it gave me a lot of experience, one, working with people, and then two, a lot of photography experience. I continued to do the day job during that. So I was taking days off doing Saturday weddings, um, working computers still. And I did that off and on real estate, photography, computers until 2017. And we started flipping homes in 2017. We sold a property, got some equity from it, and that we used that to start flipping homes. I worked on my general contractor's license during that time, and we started flipping a bunch of homes. And it got to the point where I was making more on the side than I was my day job. And I didn't want to let go of that steady paycheck. That's what kept me in there for so long is insurance, steady paycheck. I just held on to that. But I really think looking back at it that I held myself back. If I would have jumped in 2 years before, I waited till 2019 before I quit the day job, but I started flipping homes in 2017. If I would have jumped in before, we would have been doing, I think, quite a bit better by the time I actually quit my day job.
Right.
So we also had a business renting trailers at that same time too. So um, my wife was working basically full time with me on our flipping and trailer rental business, and it was just became overwhelming that I couldn't do the day job. So I decided just to jump all in 2019. We kept flipping houses and doing real estate and photography. Kept doing that. Photography kind of got put on the back burner a little bit when we were flipping houses, but um, we did that. It was really good for us. We had a couple of really good years for sure. The After COVID and everything, I mean, COVID was a really good year. We made $250,000 in COVID, but we started reinvesting that, and the interest rates jumped up in 2022. We lost $270,000 off the last four houses we did.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
Gosh,
so
that's
that
painful.
that is what pushed me into getting my loan officer's license, so my mortgage license, and then a home inspecting. I started looking into that in 2022, and because I knew a lot about homes, good experience there, both in real estate and the construction side. And so I started working on getting certified to do home inspections. And so that's what started that route. I did loans for a year. It was okay, not the greatest time ever. I decided again that I hate sitting at a desk. And when you're doing
Right.
loans, you're sitting at a desk, punching numbers, trying to market. I hated sitting at the desk. And so I started my inspection business about a year and a half ago now, and really started picking up this year. And it's been a busy year doing that, and that's where I'm at now. So got several professional licenses, and I home inspect. So
Do you really have a contractor's license now?
I let it expire, but I will
Oh,
renew. I've had a builder that wants to hire me,
wow.
but he wants me to get my license again. But I don't know if I want to get it and work for just a builder, because he found me because I was inspecting a bunch of his homes, and he wanted to meet me mostly because I was finding problems.
Right, right. So I
And
have somebody who
yeah,
might
so
actually be interested in making you do work for them. I'll have to talk to you after we're done recording, okay?
yeah, we can talk about that later. That's fine.
I didn't realize you got your real estate license in 2008. I had to write that down. I was like, wait, 2008 is when you got your realtor's
Yeah.
license? I
It
had
was
no
actually
idea.
2009. So I
Okay.
started working on it in 2008. 2009, a week before my son was born, I got my license.
Gosh, I had
So,
no idea. And that was like right around the crash. Boy.
yep. Yep. I showed houses that I'll never forget this house I sold. I showed a foreclosure in Salem, Utah that was listed at $36,000.
Oh my goodness.
And when we went in there with the clients, like the family just left everything as is. Like they literally, it looked like they were making dinner when
Oh
they
my.
left. There was pans with food on the stove. The fridge was all full. And it had been vacant probably for 6 months by then. So of course it smelled great.
Oh
But
man.
but yeah, I'll never forget like some of those houses during that crash. Uh, this client, they ended up buying a house in Goshen for $69,000, but every single house they looked at was under $70,000. We looked at probably 10 or 15.
Holy cow. Gosh, how
So
much would those houses be worth now?
I looked at that one that was 36,000. I actually looked it up. It was 2 years ago, and it sold for like 280,000 2
Jeez.
years ago. And it's like a 900 or 1,000 square foot home in Salem. And
900 square.
now it's probably, 310 to 350, somewhere in that range. So 10 times what it was worth.
Man, that was a rough time of year for a lot of people. A lot really rough time of life for a lot of people. And makes me wish that, I could have invested a bit during that time.
Yeah, I wish I knew now or knew then what I know now.
Right,
And
right,
that would have made a big difference, but it was kind of crazy how it was.
right. Okay, so one of the things growing up, and just, just now, I think anybody who knows you knows that you have a positive mindset. I wanted to talk about that because that's going to be a huge focus of my podcast is that mindset that we have when we're doing work. How has that influenced your decisions, or has it?
It has a lot. Sometimes I'm too positive. I'm over optimistic, and I
Right.
need to ground myself occasionally. But it's driven me to do a lot of things, and having obviously my wife being supportive. I mean, that made a huge difference as well, because I know people that their wife admitted that there's no way they would let their husband ever do that.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. Yeah.
so that just, I mean, having a supportive wife that allowed me to be flexible with my positivity and ADD, which is a horrible combination sometimes. um, so yeah, that's what partly why I've done so many different things, but I've kind of it's all geared around real estate. Almost all of it's been
Right.
around real estate. And I feel like now because of that, I have a very well-rounded education and experience. And it kind of the tipping point for me that works great with my brain is the home inspection because I'm very analytical and detail oriented. And I can see past cosmetic issues to see like, okay, what's going to hurt you?
Right.
And all the experience I have has really helped with that. But the positive attitude, I mean, it helps my inspections a ton. The realtors love when I do the walkthrough because it's not all doom and gloom. Some of these inspectors out there, they just list all these problems and it seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel and they scare buyers away. And I saw that a lot when I was doing real estate. I had these inspectors that were everything was doom and gloom. The house is going to fall apart tomorrow. And that's not how I am. I'm realistic about it. I make sure that my clients know, but I also help them see that this is a common issue. It's not doom and gloom. Everything's fixable, but it's that has helped a lot. My positive attitude has helped a lot, especially sales, working with people, and then my own motivation for doing business. I'll jump in and oh, it's going to work, and then it doesn't, and I like, oh, it's fine. I learned from it. We'll do the next thing.
Right. You know, that's
So
really funny because when we bought this house, we bought it in 2021, June, right before the interest rate started going up. But the inspector we had, and you helped us with the contract and buying the place, but you weren't doing home inspections at that time. The inspector we had
yeah,
was like, he was very doom and gloom. And I was like, he's like, and over here, there's a crack in the sidewalk and it is a tripping hazard. And I was like, dude, it's a crack in the sidewalk. Everyone has a crack in the sidewalk. But like he was pointing out stuff that I was like, that's that. And again, because we've, you're my sibling and I've always been obsessed with real estate. And I've told you before that I want to get a realtor's license just for a hobby because I want to go look at houses whenever I want to. But like, I'm like, you're pointing out things that aren't like, that's not a big deal, like a crack in the sidewalk. And he's like, there's a crack here in the foundation. I'm like, that's not actually a crack in the foundation. That's a crack in the stuff that's painted over the foundation. He was like, oh, yeah, you're right. It is. But I like to point out everything. And I'm like, okay, whatever. This house is better built than our house that we built before we bought this one. So I'm like,
yeah,
this is a solid house that we live in right now.
yeah. We are required to point out cracks in sidewalks and stuff like that.
Oh
But
boy. Okay.
how you point it out makes a big difference.
Right. Okay.
If I, I'll state, yes, it has a potential trip hazard there, but you're not going to find a home that's not going to have one of these.
Right.
Like this is part of a house. Like
Right.
it
Right.
just you're supposed to be aware of it, but I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. That's how I
Right.
approach a lot of things. If it's a big deal, I'll make a big deal out of it. But if it's not, like I had one realtor that said, I don't want you saying there's unsealed nails on the roof or anything like that. And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to. Like I'm
Right.
supposed to report that because code requires that. I'm not a code inspector, but it requires those to be covered. I'm a functionality inspector. They're required to be covered because they can leak eventually. The nails will rust and deteriorate, and then you have a hole.
Right.
And it's a very minor issue that can have, pretty expensive uh, consequences down
Consequences.
the road. Yeah.
Right.
But so I pointed out $5, a $5 tube of sealant and maybe an hour of labor if you pay a roofer to do it would take care of all that stuff. So yes, no, it's a minor thing. It's on there, but I want people to know about it. But I don't say, oh, the roof's failing. All these nails aren't sealed.
Right. The roof is failing.
So
You have to do the whole
there's a
thing all
big
over.
difference. Yeah, there's a big difference between that. And I found in my history doing houses, seeing a lot of reports and stuff, the inspectors that focus on cosmetic stuff don't have a good construction background or a brain that can look beyond the surface of things.
Are you
So
insulting them?
I sure if they want to be consulted, great. Utah hasn't had any license requirements for home inspectors.
What?
There is no requirement to get a license.
Holy cow.
Up
Okay.
until this year, and we had it. I have a friend that does home inspections that actually finally got with the state, and they're introducing license requirements next year.
Oh, thank
But
goodness.
up until this point, anybody could decide tomorrow, I'm going to go start inspecting homes.
Jeez, okay.
And you get these inspectors that don't probably shouldn't be in there. They don't get certification, they don't get proper education, and they just start like I've had a few realtors approach me. I'm thinking of starting inspecting homes. Like you've been through a lot of homes, but that doesn't mean you know a lot about homes.
Right, right,
So, but anyway, so you see a lot of that. If you get a report that's full of cosmetic stuff and doom and gloom stuff like that foundation crack that wasn't a foundation crack, that inspector generally doesn't understand like what's actually going on.
like why he's actually reporting on it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I do want to talk about like the difference between impulsive action versus not waiting for a perfect plan because like you've had enough experience with all these careers to know that like impulsive is one thing, but waiting and analyzing and waiting until you have like this perfect plan set up is also actually pretty detrimental to running a business. Talk to me a little bit about that difference and why it's sometimes more important to move ahead instead of waiting for the perfect plan.
Well, you may never have the perfect plan, and you're only holding yourself back if you wait. So there's some things in life that can't be perfect. You just have to dive in. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you learn from it and you do it again. There's not a successful person out there that hasn't failed at least once.
Right.
And they may have thought they had the perfect plan and then they failed. So even if you have a perfect plan, there are things that exist outside of your control. And so you just dive in and do what you can, push as hard as you can. But if it doesn't work out, then you figure out what you can learn from that and try again.
Right.
It's you only fail when you stop trying. And that's really what it comes down to. So um that's my mindset with a lot of things. There's some things that require quick decisions, like buying these flip houses. You don't have a ton of time to look into them.
Right.
Um, I'd go look at houses. Most of the houses I looked at, we had 2 to 3 days to make a decision on whether we were going to buy the house or we'd lose it to someone else. And so you have to be able to go in and make the decision quickly. And you make your money most of the time when you buy the house. So if you don't buy it for cheap enough or the right circumstances, then you can make or you can lose money. The houses we lost money on, the one that was in our control, I wasn't paying close attention to.
Oh
There's
man.
actually two of them. And so I wasn't paying super close attention to, and that was on me. But the ones we lost money on at the end, that was due to the interest rates going up.
Oh
The
right.
people that came and looked at those houses 3 months before were approved for a house twice as much. So the interest rates went from 2.5 to 3% up to 8% why we own those houses.
Jeez, man.
And that put that out of range for a lot of people. This was supposed to be a first time home, and we had people that were looking for their second home or their third home, looking at these houses, and they were really picky. And so that threw it off completely. So that was something we couldn't plan for. We didn't know the interest rates were going to start going up,
Right.
and so I learned from it. I would approach it a little bit different now if we were to do it. But sometimes you just lose, and you just got to move forward. And
Right.
having a negative attitude and dwelling on it is really not going to help you in that situation, but it's not going to help you in future situations because you'll hold yourself back.
Right.
And
Right.
so I've been able to go through things pretty quick and figure stuff out. Um, when we lost all that money, we ended up, our business, we ended up having to close our business. So it was a couple years that were pretty rough,
Mm.
and it was hard to be positive during that time, but we were able to figure it out, and we're doing okay now. We went through a couple of pretty challenging years, personally and business wise, but we are able to figure it out. And I can tell you, I've always been able to make things work. And there was a year there for where it seemed like I couldn't make anything work.
Oh
And
gosh.
that is really hard when you try to be an optimistic and be positive to not have anything go through. So it does happen for you. But you keep pushing. That's all I can say is you got to keep pushing.
Right. Right. And I like the point you made about like you're not a failure until you stop, until you quit. And that doesn't mean not pivoting because you've made pivots. That's not quitting. That's pivoting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, my 4-year-old's peeking in the door. Yeah, no, we didn't quit. We just changed where we're focusing,
Right.
and that's what's key. You can't. I mean, you go backwards if you stop. People
Right.
think, oh, I just stop. You don't just stay there. You start going backwards. So you have to change, and do something else.
Right.
So,
So one of the things that I also want to talk about was trust in especially when you're working with clients and especially when you're working with real estate. There's a lot of real estate agents who people don't trust. There's like the sleazy feeling ones. I mean, how do you build trust in your clients and how do entrepreneurs build it regardless of what their career field is and how do they also lose it?
well, I make sure I'm ethical with everything. That's part of it. Like I don't give my clients reasons to not trust me other than something they don't know about me or have heard rumors about, but not me specifically.
Right.
So I mean, it's hard enough to be trusted by someone you don't know. I don't give them a reason to not trust me. So I try and be good at communicating. I am positive, but I don't oversell things. I try to keep it realistic.
Right.
I've dealt with a lot of these slimy realtors, that honestly don't care about ethics. They just want the paycheck in the end. So they do whatever they can to get the paycheck. And we dealt with those during COVID. We had two different realtors send us contracts saying that their buyer was approved for one type of loan when they weren't approved for that type of loan.
Oh
And
my
they knew
gosh.
we were trying to avoid that type of loan, an FHA loan. So it takes a little bit longer to get approved. And when we're
Right.
selling these properties and we have a lot, we have 20 offers on it, we were going to go with cash or conventional buyers because they were more solid, more reliable. And this one realtor, he said that they're approved for conventional. I called the lender because they sent the pre-approval letter, and the lender, I said, all right, it looks like he's approved for a conventional loan at this amount. And he goes, no, it's FHA.
Oh man.
I was like, oh, the realtor told me this is what you sent over. And he goes, yeah, that's not right.
Oh God. Well, thank goodness he was honest.
And so the loan officer was honest.
Right.
The reason I started vetting these is because we had a similar situation a year before in 2019 where someone, again, multiple offers at that time as well, but it was like, you get like 4 or 6 offers instead of
Right.
like 20 during COVID.
Right.
Um, but the offer we accepted said it was conventional, and we accepted it over another one that was FHA. A week later, I didn't call the lender on this one. I didn't vet him like I did after that. But a week later, they sent an addendum saying, oh, we need to change financing to FHA. So it's going to be an FHA loan. So a week after we went on a contract, and so I was taken back because we chose them over an FHA buyer that probably would have been a better buyer. So I called
Jeez.
the lender at that time. I should have called him before, but you learn.
Right.
So I called the lender, and he goes, "Oh no, they've been approved for FHA the whole time." So I found out the realtor had submitted an offer saying it was conventional, and then the plan was to change it, and that's what they ended up doing.
Oh my
So
goodness.
so
Okay.
we backed out of it. We canceled. Basically, we declined or did whatever. I can't even think right now, but we didn't accept their addendum saying it was FHA, and
Good.
we backed out of it. But I learned because we wasted a week being under contract with them, and the other buyer had found another place and put an offer on it. So we backed out, put it back on the market. But after that, I didn't want to work with that realtor because I knew he was dishonest.
Right.
And so I said, who knows what else is going to happen during this contract if we keep moving forward? What else is he going to do to make his clients get the house or whatever? So I that really bothers me.
Right.
So being dishonest, if you can't be trusted, you're of no value to your fellow humans if they can't trust you.
Right.
And that's relationships are very important to me. And you can't just I don't take it lightly to have someone's trust. And so it really bothers me. And I think people that know me start to realize that. Especially my clients I've been working with for 15 years. I just sold a house for one of my clients. Their dad passed away 3 years ago, and she didn't want to use anybody else. I did her wedding in 2011. I sold her first house in 2015. I did her
Aw,
sister's wedding in 2016 and sold her sister a house in 2018.
nice.
And they weren't going to use anybody else to sell their dad's house when he passed away. And so they used me. But it's because they trusted me. I
Right.
built that trust with them. So and
Right.
and I got to know them really well through the weddings and everything. And so I'm kind of a sibling to them in some ways, but that was really hard to build that relationship. It wasn't something that was done overnight.
Right.
And I've had people lose relationships overnight, and that's really, really frustrating. So
Right.
especially
So
especially with your livelihood.
right. So I have a kind of a feed off, and we don't have much time. We have like 5 more minutes, but another a little other question that kind of spins off of that. Like when you have nightmare clients, whether that's like Bridezilla or somebody who, I mean, any of your areas of expertise, like any advice for especially those new business owners, new entrepreneurs, like how to handle nightmare clients, and when do you know it's time to just end the contract?
Well, I've learned, unfortunately, the hard way, especially with early weddings I did, that people take advantage of you. Especially where we live, the
Sad.
cheapest client is usually the worst client,
Yeah.
unfortunately. They
Yeah.
want everything for nothing.
Yep.
So I learned that pretty quick. If I'm doing a wedding and they get demanding at the beginning, then I'll part ways with them. I'll say, I I don't know if I'm going to be a great fit. Here's a friend or here's another photographer
You're
that
like,
I'll throw under the
take
bus.
take this person. Yes, you'll throw under the
No,
bus.
I'm
There
just
we go.
kidding. But I'll say it might be best if you find someone else. So I learned it's not worth the money.
Right.
Um, because they can tarnish your reputation. I had one lady who posted a negative review and I never even did their photos, and she posted a bad review saying how bad my photos were.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
And that was like
whatever.
2011, right after I started doing photography, like the beginning of it. And I learned like you cut ties early before things can happen.
Right.
Um, and I went too far, and then she asked too much, and I ended up being in a bad situation. You can't always foresee those things, but
Right.
if like this year, I had one inspection out of 100. I've done 191 inspections this year, and I had one that was a negative experience because something came up on this property. It was a multi-unit property. The issue was tied to this unit, but it was a drain pipe from the furnace that exited by another unit. So
Oh,
I didn't inspect that unit, so I missed that problem.
right.
And this client, English wasn't his native language, so it was really difficult to communicate anyway. He basically yelled and threatened a lawsuit and all kinds of stuff, and I just refunded him the entire inspection fee because it wasn't worth it for me. It's
Right.
not worth it for me. I probably would have won, but I didn't want to be dragged through that. I didn't want to
No.
start any kind of civil case with him. I didn't want the reviews, the bad reputation, everything. I said, I will refund you the inspection fee. I offered to go look at it for him. And he goes, oh, we already got it fixed. He
Okay,
didn't even want me to
whatever.
come look at it because he already got it taken care of. So anyway, I just refunded him, and he goes, thank you. I'll write you a great review after I refunded him. And I feel like he was just doing that to get money back from me. But at the same time, it wasn't worth it to me.
Right.
I
Right.
was busy. I was doing 2 to 3 inspections a day when this happened. And I don't have time to deal with this. I don't have time to deal with the lawsuit. I'm just going to refund it, cut my losses and move forward.
Right.
And so sometimes that's what you have to do. Um,
Right.
get rid of your pride. Honestly,
Right.
your pride will cost you more money than anything else in business.
Right. That need to be right and that need to
Yep.
win. Like a lot of business owners, this is one of the things that I have when I'm working with clients, entrepreneurs. They'll say, I've got a 1-star review and this person didn't even use my services. And I'm like, doesn't matter. Like spending all that energy trying to fight that 1-star review is not worth it. Like you can't, I mean, if they're going to try to tarnish your name, that's on them, that's not on you. And especially for a business owner, if you've got like 100 5-star reviews and no 1-star reviews, people are going to look at that and think that those are bot reviews. And so, or friends and family. And so I'm like, it's okay if it's a 1-star review. And on Google, you have the opportunity to respond to them and say, I don't know your name. I never did anything for you. Or in this guy's case, like, I mean, just addressing that whole, it's not, it was in a unit. I couldn't expect or inspect or whatever, but I want the viewers to know that a bad review, even if it had happened, would not have been the end of the world. And a lot of the business owners I work with, they're devastated when they get one bad review. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, as somebody whose entire career is built up on review systems, a 1-star review is actually something to celebrate because it means it'll show that you're a legitimate business. And as an author, that first 1-star review is so painful, but after you get 100, 1,000, or it doesn't even matter. The 1-star review doesn't matter, and people will they'll recognize the integrity, they'll recognize the work ethic and your like the mission of your business or whatever, and they will respect that more than they'll respect the 1-star person.
Yep. It's not worth the hassle. And in some extreme cases, it's not worth destroying your business over one client.
Right.
It's like road rage. The same pride is involved in both. And it's not worth destroying people's lives over something that was just a momentary issue. You drive your way and you're fine. It's the pride that keeps you there. So,
Right.
so keep your pride in what you do, but be humble when it comes to interactions with people, and
Right.
it will serve you well. So that's positive and humility. Those both go a long ways in business.
Right. It's very attractive to people. A lot of business owners think, no, I've got to be the one who knows everything. I've got to be an expert in my field. But what they don't recognize is that clients actually respect it more when you say, I don't actually know what that is or the answer to that. Let me take a moment to research it. Let me ask out to reach out to a colleague. It's more respectful for a client who has somebody that they're working with who's willing to learn and who's humble than somebody who knows everything. And probably doesn't know everything because nobody knows everything.
Yeah, the fake it till you make it doesn't work when you're working with clients very well.
Right.
So it's a good way to keep that in mind, but you have to be realistic. And if you don't know, you don't know. You're never going to know everything. If you think you know everything, then you're already losing. So
Okay, so one last question. I want to talk about that year that was so hard. Any advice you have for viewers who might be in a year like that right now, like to for basically continuing forward and not completely losing all hope.
Yeah, that one was really hard because the business was going under. My daughter was in the neuro trauma center at the primary children's hospital for 4 days with seizures that they couldn't figure out. And a week after we got out of that, we found out my wife was pregnant, which we weren't expecting because she was on birth control. She was on a NuvaRing. And then 4 weeks later, she lost that baby. So all of that happened in the end of that. And that was really, really hard. Like the hardest time I've ever had in my life. I felt like nothing, not just the personal issues of the family, worrying about my daughter, my wife, all that. Um, it was, I couldn't make anything work business wise. Like what I'd learned the last 5 years on business wasn't working. Like I couldn't figure out anything. I had a friend reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you want to come sell trailers for me?" And I said, "Sure." So I went and
I
sold
remember
trailers.
that.
I went and sold trailers for a year, 22 to 23. Went and sold trailers, and that helped. When you have a good skill like sales and you can talk to people, you can fall back on it. My first year ever selling trailers, and I made $90,000 doing it that year. So it wasn't as much as we were making flipping houses. So we had to make some adjustments. We had a lot of debt, so we had to take care of some of that stuff. But I was able to work my way back up, and we're doing okay right now. We're not rich. I'm not doing as good as we were in COVID, but
Which is really ironic. A lot of people struggled during COVID.
COVID was a good year for real estate. Like anybody that was in real estate did really good. I know a realtor that made $1.2 million in real estate, and the most he'd done is like 120,000. So he 10 times his
Nice.
income that year.
Wow.
Um, but it was hard. The biggest thing was is I just kept pushing. I kept trying, humbled myself. I prayed a lot, and it worked out. Like we're not rich by any means, but we're getting by.
Yeah,
And that's all I care about. I just want to be able to pay my bills and support my family. That's all I care
right.
about. And I don't want to be the richest person in the neighborhood. I could care less. All my son's friends thought that we were the richest people in the neighborhood for a while because we had this business. We had a fifth wheel. We had a really nice truck. Um, they thought we were well off and we were doing pretty good. But behind the scenes, we were building debt trying to push the businesses and that all backfired.
Right.
So, um, yeah, there's a lot of people around us that look really rich that aren't.
Right.
So the important thing is just stay humble and keep pushing and don't give up. Your attitude, your mental mindset makes a bigger difference in the long run than anything else.
Right.
And if you can stay positive, even if things are falling apart around you, it'll work out eventually. Just
Right.
keep pushing.
Yeah, I love that. All
So,
right, really fast, where can people find you? Like for home
um,
inspections and all the stuff you do.
home inspections, my company is Utah Inspections LLC. It's utahinspectionsllc.com. You can find me there. I have a couple of employees that are working for me now, so I'm building that business up. Photography is LDS Photographer. I changed it for a while, and then GoDaddy sent me notification saying my website was worth like $6,000 that I wasn't using anymore. So I changed it back to LDS Photographer. Um, that's where you can find me there. And then real estate. I mean, you can just contact me through there if you ever need real estate things. I like referring a lot of people out to some of the realtors I know, but I will help you if I need to. But I like maintaining those relationships with some of the realtors I've met. So they can do that part and they feed me a lot of business. And so I take care of them as well. So
Awesome.
I will make sure you're taken care of no matter what you're looking for. So
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, thank you for joining us, Glenn, and thank you everyone for listening. Yeah, hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be alerted to future videos, and comment below if you have any questions for Glenn that you would like him to answer. And that's pretty much it. See you later, Glenn.
yeah.
Okay, bye everyone.